Hey there guys, this is Goshen, and on this video we're going to be talking about attributes in Wildstar. So this looks a little bit overwhelming, but once you kind of understand the philosophy behind how primary attributes affect secondary attributes within each class, it's actually not really that hard to understand. So let's start from the beginning. Attributes, also known as stats, are characteristics that affect character combat effectiveness. They are divided between general, primary, and secondary attributes. On the general attributes, you have health, shield, assault power, support power, and armor. Health represents the amount of damage you can take before you die. Shields prevent a portion of damage that would normally be dealt to health. Assault power contributes to the effectiveness of most assault and utility abilities. Support power contributes to the effectiveness of most support and utility abilities. And armor doesn't really have a description here, but armor should reduce the effectiveness of the abilities that your enemies do to you. So before we go into all of this, let's talk about the secondary attributes. Strike through chance reduces the chance that your enemy is going to deflect your attack. Deflect is basically dodge. So critted chance is the chance to critically hit your enemy or critically heal an ally. This is really cool. You can do crits when you heal. Critical hit severity is basically critted damage. It's the percent bonus to healing or damage caused by a critical hit. Armor pierce. All damage you deal ignores this percent of the enemy's armor. So both armor pierce and shield pierce it's a percentage of all your damage. So on armor, that percent is gonna ignore the armor, so it's not going to be reduced. And on shield, that percentage of your damage is going to ignore the shield, which is really useful if your enemy has a lot of shields and really low HP. Lifesteal is the damage is the percent of damage that you deal that is restored to you as health. Pretty self-explanatory. Cooldown reduction is also pretty self-explanatory. All class ability cooldowns are reduced by this percent. So again, this is a percentage. All of these are percentages. So armor pierce, shield pierce, lifesteal, and cooldown reduction are percentages. Shield regenerate, this is the percentage of your maximum shield capacity that will be restored each shield regeneration interval. And then there's shield reboot time. This is the number of seconds that must elapse before your shield will begin to regenerate. Taking damage will reset the shield reboot time. You can be in combat and regenerate your shield. You just have to not get hit. Then there's physical technology, and magic resistance. So these are 3 types of damage in game, and all of these secondary stats reduce the amount of each of these damage types that you are dealt to. So this is not a percent, this is a fixed amount. Deflect chance is the chance to deflect an attack, basically a dodge. Deflect critted chance, this reduces the chance that your enemies are going to critically hit you. So basically deflect chance is going to be affected by strike through chance, and critical hit chance is going to be affected by deflect critted chance. Then there is CC resistance. All crowd control effects applied to you have their durations reduced by this percent. Again, this is a percentage, and the problems with percentages are that, like, if you have 100% of CC resistance, which might not be possible, so there might not be a problem, but if it is possible to get it really high, then it might be indeed a problem. But I'm sure Carbide knows what they're doing. So then we have focus recover rates. This is the amount of focus you regen each second while in combat. And focus cost reduction. The focus cost of your abilities are reduced by this percent. Then we have PvP offense and PvP defense. They each affect each other, and PvP offense, for example, increases the amount of damage dealt to players by ignoring this percentage of PvP defense. So if you have a certain amount, this is like a percentage, like basically the amount of damage will be your PvP offense or the enemy's PvP defense minus your offense, and then you can calculate the damage that you're gonna be dealing to your enemy. So now let's go to all of this, which seems pretty intimidating if all of that wasn't intimidating enough. So we're gonna start with the simpler ones, and then I'm gonna be explaining how all these changes between classes work. So first we have grit, and grit basically gives you 14 HP. Whatever class you are, it'll give you health, and the same amount of health. Then we have Moxie, which will give you crit chance or critical chance rating and critical severity rating, and it will give you the same amount no matter what class you are, except if you're an Esper. And if you're an Esper, it'll give you 0.61 assault rating. But what really matters here is the assault rating, because it's still in closed beta with beta weekends and stuff like that. So the amounts might change until release, but I doubt that the system as a whole is gonna suffer a lot of changes. I think it's just gonna be mainly numbers. So what matters is Moxie gives crit chance and crit damage unless you're an Esper. If you're an Esper, it'll give you damage. Then there's Brutality, which will give you strike through rating and critical severity unless you're a melee character, which makes sense, because if you're a melee character and you're brutal, you're just gonna do more damage by giving you more assault power. If you are any other class, Spellslinger, Medic, Esper, or Engineer, it's gonna be giving you strike through rating and critical severity rating, and the amounts are equal to all other classes. The assault power, however, is not equal in here for both warriors and stalkers. This by nature will make it so that stalkers by nature have more assault power than warriors, because warriors are supposed to be more tanky. So anyway, now we'll go to finesse. And on finesse, we're going to start seeing how they are trading the primary attribute, secondary attribute bonus. So if you are a warrior, you do want some primary attribute that gives you strike through rating and crit severity, right? Like, you're getting crit severity here, but you also want something to give you this. So you will have finesse instead of brutality. That will give what brutality gives to other classes. If you are an Esper, and this is for both warriors and stalkers, because they are melee and brutality is giving them assault power and not the other bonuses that it gives to other classes. if you are an Esper, well, Moxie is giving you assault power. It's not giving you 0.5 crit chance rating or 0.5 crit severity rating. So you'll want Finesse to do that. And Brutality is already giving you what it's giving to other classes, so it's fine. And Spellslingers, well, Finesse is just gonna give them assault power. So Finesse, what it actually gives is deflect rating and deflect critical hit rating. So Brutality generally gives strike through chance and critical severity. Moxie generally gives critted chance and critted damage. Finesse generally gives dodge, but in practice, because it gives assault power to Spellslingers and Engineers, and because Warriors and Stalkers need Finesse to substitute the bonus that they're losing in Brutality, because Brutality is giving them assault power, and because Espers need the bonus from Moxie that's not being given to them because they have assault rating instead, then these are all substitutes, right? These are all substitutes. And then Spellslingers and Engineers get the assault power. So then we have Tech and Insight. These are the only two left. So both of these we'll need to both substitute what Finesse should be giving to all classes, or should or could, because I don't think that this is a wrong system. I think that this is a very well created system, and I will explain later. But Tech and Insight will have to give the deflect ratings, because if they didn't, well, then Medics would have more dodge rating by nature, and that might be unbalanced. So Tech is going to give support power to Warriors, Stalkers, and Engineers. Assault power, no, support power to the melee classes, and the Engineer. And it will give assault power to Medics, and this makes a lot of sense because of the way healing on the lore works. Like, basically you're injecting nanites, which is technology, so it makes sense from both from a lore perspective to give assault power through Tech to Medics. And it will give the deflect rating to Espers and Spellslingers that Finesse is not giving, right? Because Finesse is giving critical things to Esper because of Moxie, giving them a assault rating, and Spellslingers are gonna be getting assault power through Finesse, so they need deflect rating from somewhere. And then Insight is going to be giving deflect ratings to Warrior, Stalker, and Engineer, which have support power from Tech, and it will give support power to Spellslingers, Medics, and Espers. So this might seem a little bit confusing and a little bit illogical. Like, why couldn't they just trade that on the Medics and then just give, because in here you have 0.25 deflect rating, which is the same here. It's just like they wrote this one first and in here it's second, but it's the same thing. So why couldn't they just put all the deflect on Insight and all the support power on Tech, and then just trade assault power with support power on Medics? Why couldn't they just do that? Similarly to what they did with Moxie and Espers. Well, in my mind, and the way that I'm understanding this, they are doing this so they can segment the classes. Because as you can see, the amount of support power and all the secondary attributes, it's all the same throughout each primary attribute. So if you don't count assault power, which actually is not a secondary attribute, it's a general attribute, so that kind of doesn't count. So the way that each primary attribute affects a secondary attribute, the amounts are all equal throughout all the classes and throughout all the primary attributes. So even though finesse is taking the place of brutality on strike-through rating and crit severity on warriors, the amount is the same, right? So for example, in PvP, if there is an imbalance with how finesse is working for melee characters, they can affect that. And they can affect that without worrying about all the other classes, all the consequences of the other classes, because, well, spellslingers and engineers are not going to be affected by the strike-through chance and crit severity of finesse, because, well, they get assault power from finesse. And yes, it's the same right now, but if they need to change it, everything is segmented. So melee characters are segmented in a way from ranged characters in this way, and characters that have a lot of support abilities and support options. Spellslinger, I don't really know it a lot, but Medic is obviously a healer and a support, and Espers can both do a lot of damage with spells, or they can also heal a lot, because they have a lot of healing abilities also. So the support, the way the primary attributes are affecting support power is segmented in the classes that have actual support, real support ability, from the classes that are both melee, and then there's the engineer. So the classes are a bit segmented in this way, which I think is going to be very positive when Carbide is trying to balance PvP and PvE. So it might seem a little bit confusing, but I think that after this, I hope that after all of this, that you get to know more about how this system works, that you understand that it's all about trade-offs, and it's all just some switching around. I think that Wildstar is going to be awesome. I'm going to be making a lot of new content. I'm going to be on this weekend beta, so you can expect a lot of more videos about Wildstar in my channel coming up on both this weekend and over the next week, because I'm just going to be recording a lot of videos, and then I'm going to be processing them and uploading them to YouTube throughout the week. So I hope you've liked this video. If you liked it, please click on the like button, maybe favorite, and subscribe. And yeah, you're going to be able to click somewhere on the screen right now to go to my amps video, where I'm going to be explaining a little bit about that system. But yeah, that's it. Bye. See you on the next video.